Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're jumping into a passage from Yeshayahu that you've probably heard a dozen times. But what if I told you that hidden inside it is a botanical secret about Jewish survival and redemption that is, honestly, completely mind-blowing? Let's get right into it. Okay, so here's the verse that starts it all. A shoot shall come out from the stump of Yeshai, and a twig shall sprout from his roots. Now, at first glance, this sounds like beautiful, classic prophetic poetry, A bit of repetition for effect, but as we're about to find out, this is so much more than just simple repetition. And that brings us to the central puzzle. Why use two images that seem so similar? I mean, a stump, a getza, is what's left after you cut a tree down. The roots, the shorish, are right there underground. They're connected, right? So why bother mentioning both? Well, this isn't redundancy. This is actually a masterclass in hope, designed to cover every single possibility in Jewish history. Now, to really crack this puzzle, we have to do something a little different. We need a quick lesson in, of all things, botany. Seriously, because the scientific difference between how a tree regrows from a trunk versus how it regrows from its roots, well, that's the entire key to unlocking Yeshayahu's incredible message. So let's get into this distinction, because it's fascinating. On one hand, you've got trees like eucalyptus or carob. You can chop them down and new growth will literally sprout right out of the visible cut trunk. The old tree is still there, you can see it. But then you have other trees, like the amazing olive tree. It can send up brand new shoots from its underground root system, sometimes popping up way far away from the original trunk. It's a whole new tree, but it's using the old, hidden infrastructure to do it. This difference is absolutely everything. And let's add one more layer here. Let's contrast both of those methods, regrowth from the trunk or from the roots, with growth from a seed. A shoot, you see, is basically a clone. It's genetically identical to the parent, and it grows super fast because it's using the parent's established energy reserves. A seed, though, a seed is a whole new ballgame. It's a unique genetic mix, it grows slowly, and it can just lay dormant for years waiting for the perfect moment. It is its own independent thing. Keep this difference in mind. It's about to become wildly important. Okay, botany lesson over, let's dive into the history. Now that we've got these concepts down, we can actually map them directly onto the biggest traumas and triumphs in Jewish history. Because Yeshayahu isn't just talking about trees here, he is laying out the destiny of an entire nation. And this is just brilliant. It's the historical parallel that Rashi points out so perfectly. The stump, the geza, that represents the exile of the kingdom of Yehuda to Babylon. The nation was cut down for sure, but the community was still visible. It was a recognizable stump. And after 70 years, sure enough, new growth came from that stump and returned to the land. But the roots, the shoresh, that represents the 10 northern tribes exiled by Assyria. They vanished. They were gone, totally lost to history, it seemed. But the prophecy promises that even from those hidden, unseen roots, new life will sprout. So you see, the point is, this isn't just flowery language. It's a comprehensive theological insurance policy. Yeshayahu is giving a promise of redemption that covers everyone. It's for the people who are still visibly connected to the whole, like the stump, and it's for those who have completely disappeared from the world stage, but whose essential connection, their roots, are still there. It is a truly all-encompassing hope. But hang on, where did this stump and these roots even come from in the first place? Well, for that, we have to rewind a little bit back to Yeshayahu Perek Hey, chapter 5, and the famous parable of the vineyard. This, right here, is the origin story for our entire metaphor. Just listen to the incredible effort described here. Hashem chose the best possible spot, cleared the stones, built a watchtower for protection, and here's the kicker, planted it with a sorek, a choice vine. And many commentaries understand this to mean planting a seed. Not a shoot, not a clone, but a brand new entity with its own potential and its own free will. And here is the painful, disappointing result. After all that work, all that care, the vineyard produced bushim, wild, sour grapes. The result of that free will was imperfection. And it really seems like a total failure, doesn't it? A tragic end to a story that started with so much promise. But it's not the end. This is where it all comes together. That apparent failure back in chapter 5 is directly and deeply linked to the incredible promise of redemption in chapter 11. The story of the wild grapes isn't a tragedy. It's actually the necessary setup. And that is the big reveal.
Even though the fruits were imperfect, the process of planting that initial seed created the essential foundation for everything to come. It produced the very trunk and the deep, strong root system that Yeshayahu would later point to as the source of all future hope.
So let's put the whole picture together. God's initial planting of that seed, way back in chapter 5, that's what created the nation's core infrastructure, the trunk and the roots. Yes, the choices made, the free will, it led to imperfect fruit, but that foundation was so strong, so essential, that it became the very basis for the promise of rebirth in chapter 11. The two prophecies, you see, they can't be understood without each other.
So what we have here is a profound story of ultimate resilience. It tells us that even when things go wrong, even when the outcome isn't what we hoped for, the foundation that was built is never wasted. The potential for renewal, for a new shoot to emerge from a visible stump, or even from roots we can no longer see, is never, ever lost. So, as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with a thought to take with you. If this powerful, unstoppable potential for rebirth exists even after what looks like total destruction, even from parts of our history or ourselves that seem completely lost and gone, where in our own lives, in our own communities, might we find a stump or a hidden root system just waiting for the right moment to sprout anew?